Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kids on the Stoop, Bad House RPG's review and talk show. I am Josephine. You've seen me in two other episodes already, co producer over here at Bad House RPG. And today I am joined by an expert on gender, Woo Do-han's biggest, gayest fan, and secretly about 13 zombies
Oh my
dangling by a string behind a computer screen. Please welcome Navaar.
God.
Uh,
Incredible intro.
Tell us who
So
you
many
are
questions for all of the people watching this.
and what do you do here?
How do I follow that up? Hi, I'm Navar, Seek Jackson. I am a game designer and actual play producer and sometimes performer. Yeah, I've been doing TTRPG stuff since 2021. I was a late bloomer to the COVID expansion of TTRPGs. But yeah, I'm excited to talk to you as always. You're one of my favorite people in the whole world, so here we are.
You are one of my many collected work wives in the like
Yeah.
TTRPG and AP space.
Yep.
Before even getting into what exactly smooth listening even means, so the work that we have done specifically is more towards the corrupted, we have already shouted out in Wes's episode where we just talk about Zines and plus one XP. So we'll definitely be talking about the corrupted throughout this episode, just because you and I are regularly collaborating, playing the corrupted, making each other
Mhm.
sad in the corrupted.
Yeah.
If is there a little plug that you want to talk about, just like the corrupted?
Yeah, so the Corrupted is it wears the mask of a zombie apocalypse TTRPG, but it's actually a game about relationships and conflict, about surviving in the apocalypse, and what it means to kind of go through that process and that experience with another person or other people. And so the game uses some similar mechanics. There's a d20, you have skills and you have abilities, and we add stress and we add conflict, and those things get triggered as you play and as you fail, and then it leads to incredible role play moments. And which is why we keep coming back to it. I think it's a game that I think once you and I have found the formula for creating really interesting stories within that, and I constantly, you and I are like, well, I know we said we're taking a break, but what if we made another corrupted show? And I love it. It's one of my favorite things in the world that we get to do that. So yeah, if you want to check it out, I on itch and all that, Navaar smp.itch.io, plus one exp has the physical copies. But we've got an expansion that's been long in the works, that will make it to the light eventually, and yeah,
Awesome.
it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Just speaking about the body of work that we have done over at Secret Nerd Podcast, there will be many a link and reference to all of the things, all the shows that have been created in the description. But you are the complete post production side of that. You're
Yeah.
also like production, you're dramaturgy, you're the person that created the game as well. So you are an extremely involved person. In whenever it comes to the corrupted, when it comes to eventual Soothwarden's project, which is also
Yeah.
your other game that's in development at the moment. So what is just like, what would you call, I guess, what am I trying to say? Well, I guess like from the very first step of you creating a podcast, um, what are the considerations that you're taking from like the beginning all the way to the end? I guess a more organized sense of the question is just like, what are like the steps?
Yeah. Like, what does it mean to like produce an actual play for the Corrupted?
Yeah, and
What?
especially just
So
because, yeah,
yeah. So for me, it is the biggest thing is like finding you and what you're doing, and when you're free, and then and
yeah,
then
right,
we no, but I think like honestly though, the biggest thing is figuring out like what the story is going to be. And I don't like that doesn't need to be a complete picture, but it does need to be an idea of like what is like the core theme that we want to tell. What is like a great premise that we could start with. So just sort of figuring that out, like ties that bind, was I wanted to tell a story about two people that were like brought together and had to figure it out, and have humans, alive people, be sort of the main antagonist of the world, that we dealt with in the game. And so that was, easy. And then it's like, okay, well, we figure out who those characters are going to be once you have your people. The corrupted's great because you only need two players, and which is great for scheduling. And it's a lot easier to cast only two people, I think. Especially if you're like me and you don't just cast a wide net, you just literally go ask two people, like, hey, do you two want to play together in this very intimate, dangerous
Right. Yeah.
setting? And then we figure out that for Ties That Bind, I also GM the game, but for Ghost Underground, you GM'd and I just produced it. So that's a good conversation of like, how involved am I going to be in that? Which was a fun new thing to do, to just produce the actual play and sit there with the black screen and no audio and just listen to this story unfold. It was really cool. And from there, yeah, we get the cast, and then we kind of go through what the like we do all of our session zero safety talks, some character generation. I think is great to do together in an actual play, because getting people like on board with who's the other play going to be, what things are known, what things are unknown, is a really good situation, especially in a game like this where it's you're playing like real people, like modern day people. The universe that our games take place in the Secret Nerd podcast starts in April 6th, 2024.
Yeah.
So that's when the apocalypse happens. And so, yeah, I mean, what was your person doing in that time, and how have they reacted so far to the story, or to the world around them, rather? And so then it's like, okay, now the hardest part is scheduling. And we've actually been pretty fortunate to have some really great scheduling. I think we've had a couple times where we've had to reschedule something, but we've never like, I think on that end, you and I have been really good and fortunate in that a lot of it has been pretty you and I did a whole show in a month, in a literal four
Yes, we
weeks.
did. Yes, we did. Yeah.
So yeah, so we get the schedule down, and then you get the people, and then you do it. And then I think if you have somebody that can act as a producer, it's great. It's a huge thing to be able to like be there and be the person that's going, hey, your mic's not working, or something's weird's happening with his audio, or any number of things that could come up. We were also pretty fortunate there. We didn't have a lot of issues making sure people are connected to the correct microphone, have their backups going, that all that stuff's going to the right place. Huge, huge, huge. And then having a dramaturge, I think, is great if that's the kind of actual play you want to tell. I think there is, of course, space for people who want to tell actual plays that are just people, quote unquote, actually playing the game, where it's not necessarily a narrative driven production, and it's just people just getting together, having fun, playing a game, and all of that stuff that gets left in. I think that's fine. But the way that we do it, I overproduce a lot of things, I guess. We're not overproduce, but I produce things in a way that is as close to audio drama as I feel like we can get with the improvised story that we're telling in actual play.
Yeah.
And that means that we have to know what we're doing in the story. We have to, I think the cast has to feel good about the decisions that they made. We need to have somebody like remembering what those decisions were and making sure that we're sort of tying things in, trying to keep a lot of like any loose ends from getting too far away. So, working with the GM, working with the players, having somebody that can do that stuff was huge for Ghost Underground, I think. And it was a really fun experience for me to be able to do that in that way. But I think even if it's, even if you're not, even if you don't have somebody that can be that dedicated person, I think if you're having conversations at your table during or after or before each of the recording sessions, it makes a huge difference too, to be able
Yeah,
to talk about it.
your early hats in Ties That Bind as well, because like you were GMing, so it's not
Mhm.
like we didn't really like have early talks about like who what you would be doing as like dramaturging as well.
Right.
Like you at the most of your the dramaturgy that you were actually doing is kind of like what seemed to be the GMing side, and then a lot of it really shined through the most in the audio editing process. And like there were a lot of things that Hamna and I were just like figuring out like as episodes were coming out. So I guess to talk about Ties That Bind and your editing style for that as well is like the very first scene of Ties That Bind episode 1 is a cold open,
Mhm.
despite the fact that Hamna and I had recorded kind of more expository scenes in our
Mhm.
actual session. So
Yeah.
like when it comes to that dramaturgy, that audio sculpting of a session versus like how it actually then will be published and presented out into the world, like what is your thought process? Like what are you considering? Are you already thinking of this kind of like storyboarding before the session is even starting, or are you doing it like
Uh,
in the audio process?
Yeah, so with Ties That Bind, it didn't happen that way. It happened after. If I remember correctly, I knew that I wanted to restructure how the episodes were framed for episode 1 and 2, where we have time jumps back and forth between the past and the present. That was a pretty early idea. I think actually before we even started recording, I was like, I think this would be really cool to do. But the actual cold open happened after. I wanted something that I felt like could set the tone for what listeners would be getting to in a different way than what they would hear of like the actual episode. So we have this cold open that's this monologue from a character we don't know. They're talking to somebody as they appear. It sounds like they're digging, and the person's not talking back. And then these people approach them and they're excuse me. These people approach them and they're trying to get his attention, and that's where boom it goes to the title card, and then it goes into action in the middle of action. I love that we start like the proper episode in the middle of action, but I think Ties That Bind is not a story that is walls to wall gunfire. And so doing my idea was that if I can do this cold open in this way, and then we go to this, then hopefully we're setting a tone that there is something deeper, quieter here, and there is danger here as well. And the danger is both in the action and in the quiet. And so, yeah, I love it. It it's a lot of fun to like think about that, and I think like cold opens are great for that specifically if you can find the right way to set a tone either for the series or for an episode. That's usually that's a great way to do it. I wish that more actual plays did it as well. Yeah.
We'll certainly talk about your feelings about certain types of opens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of even thinking about like, so you were saying you were saying Ties That Bind is a bit more of like an audio drama approach to like
Yeah.
audio editing and designing and things like that, which leads me into one of the first questions that I wanted to ask you, and also something that you also kind of helped me when preparing for this episode of Kids on the Stoop. So, how much editing is enough for what particular type of project, or like depending on what type of genre of audio that you're trying to get into? Like, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. It's like the sort of true cop out answer is that there's no right answer for this. But I think that it's the better answer is that it's important to understand what your goal is. So you have to make, I think when you're making actual play, even if it's just we're streaming this and we're having fun and nothing is getting edited out, you have to be intentional about that idea, about what that means and what that comes with. On the opposite end of that spectrum, if you're doing something that is heavily produced, you have to be intentional about that idea as well and what that means. So I think it's a conversation that should happen before you start recording, so that whoever is going to be the editor understands what's happening, so that you understand, like, if we go drop 4 hours of raw audio in one session, somebody has to clean that up. And that is miserable and daunting. So, are we going to do that? Or are we going to like do smaller sessions? Are we going to have like big intentional breaks in the middle of however much time so that the person who's editing it knows, like, oh, this is the break. I can cut this out and not look at it until I'm editing that episode or whatever. So that's huge. I think you really got to figure that out. And then from there, what is it you want to do? I think if you're asking anybody who's editing to do the amount of work that I did for Ties That Bind or Ghost Underground, or that other shows do, you have to understand it's a lot of work. And if somebody's not getting paid for that, it's a lot of really isolating and thankless work. So, I do it for Secret Nerd Podcast because it's my show and I want to make a thing that, I'm really proud of. And I'm proud of the way that we've done it, and I like it, but it takes a lot of time. I also get paid to do it for another show for Lori's House. So, and yeah, so I think it's like you really got to consider that. So if you're the person or you have a person that's going to edit it, and you consider how much time that's going to take them, you have to decide, like, what are we all agreeing on? I think the editor should, of course, be in that conversation, because I think you can make an actual play, because the precedent has been set for long enough. You can make an actual play where you are just mixing the audio to make it sound good. Everybody's leveled out, and then you're good. You edit out parts that are just like jokey bullshit stuff, and take away from the like audience engagement, and then you're fine. And that's fine. And it's gonna sound better than a lot of stuff that's out there. I think the next step is like you do that and you put some music on. That works too. The music like might not even be edited to like break at certain parts or whatever. Like it's just there. It's background, and that's fine. And then from there, you go into like doing sound effects and soundscaping and, room tones and everything else. And that's very involved and takes a long time. For Ties That Bind, I think I estimated I did over 330 hours of post-production. We recorded 10 sessions
Wow.
for
Yeah.
about 2.5 hours each.
Yeah.
So the the difference between how much time it takes to like record a show versus how much time it takes to produce the show in post-production, vastly different. So it's something to consider. Like, does your editor have that time, that interest that they're going to stick with it? And can you pay them to do it? Is anybody getting paid, right? That's always a major consideration in actual play. So yeah, I do it for myself. Would I do it for free for somebody else? Unless they're named Joe, probably not. So I think it's just, it's a very tough thing to ask, and I think everybody should be honest about like what that means.
Hmm.
um but like on the alternative side, doing I've done multiple smaller like talk shows. Well, actually all of our talk back
Our
episodes,
talkbacks, yeah.
I just mix those. I mix them and level them. I'm done in like 30 minutes and I can post an episode. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Now I've been editing dialogue for a long time. I think it's one of the things that I'm better at when it comes to being an editor. But that said, like, I think it's a skill that you you should learn if you're editing and can get pretty quick at and make presets for, and then you can be fast with it. Whereas you can't shortcut sound design.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just can't. It's not going to sound good.
The the day I realized that you could make presets for people's specific mic setups, I was like, I'm a goddamn idiot. Like I'm a caveman.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
um but
It
yeah,
makes a huge
basically
difference. Yeah.
love on your editors,
Thank you.
get them yeah, food or anything like that. Like at the very
Mm,
least, like we are all doing this for the love of the game because we love
yeah.
stories. But if obviously you have the cash,
Yeah.
throw it at them. Very
Hmm.
much so.
Yeah.
Which that was it was the hearing 330 hours of post production, fucking harrowing, absolutely. But like,
Yeah.
so the next question was absolutely how long can post production take, just depending on I think very much what you were saying about the intentionality of the project. Like if you're
Hmm.
going for something more audio drama-y, you gotta expect that huge time sink for that one editor to be able to like homogenize their style into like each episode basically. Like that's not if
Yeah.
you most projects probably don't have like a team of people who are able to dedicate to like cranking these episodes out, that kind of thing. Like
Right.
um so yeah, absolutely just make sure to appreciate your editors, folks.
Yeah. I think like another big thing too, something to consider, and this was hard for me because I'm a person who's like, once we made the thing, I want to hear it. Like I want it to be
Yeah.
out and I want it to be done. And the reality is like it's going to take a long time. And while you can put episodes out as you edit them, there is something to be said about having a consistent episode drop schedule. If
Yeah.
people are hype about episode one and then they have to wait a month for episode two, you might lose people. Now, I think everybody should take care of themselves, and you should do anything within your schedule. Like I think it's genuinely important to like consider what your capacity is, and how you want to do it. And if you're okay with that, there are shows that are currently coming out now that are like that. So, but I think if you have the patience and the time to be able to say, we're going to edit all of this or more than half of this before we start dropping episodes so that we can get it out on time, I think that's huge. So something to consider. But again, this is a lot of pressure on whoever is editing. So something more to consider there.
What helps to stay disciplined and on schedule in that regard? Like if you have the time,
Mhm.
um yeah, and let's say you're not Josephine who put a lot of editing off for one of the shows that she attempted to audio edit at one point. Um,
Uh,
how do you stay disciplined?
um, it's tough. I think like the biggest things that have helped me is like being excited about the show is huge, right? Um, so like being a part of it or I'm a person that listens to everything that I make, whatever that says about me. Like if I'm
Oh
in a
yeah,
show, I'm gonna listen to the show.
I want to be in it.
Some people
I want to listen to
don't
my
listen to the
voice.
things that they make. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's
So
true.
I understand that might be a thing, but for me, like being in ties that bind, and being like so as involved as I was in that story, not just as like the GM, but also having this GM NPC, that I fell in love with as a character, and like being so deeply tied, no pun intended, to that. Like it to me, I wanted to hear it. That was a big bonus for me. So, and then being the producer and like hearing the decisions that we made in Ghost Underground, and like the knowing that there was stuff that I would be like kind of listening to and taking out and making those decisions because of the way they were recorded, or because of some of the dramaturgy stuff that we discussed in the show. Like that was really fun to like kind of figure those things out and put those pieces together, and just to like listen to this thing be complete that I produced but wasn't a voice in. Well, that's not true. I did guest voice for one for a moment, for a cold open actually. But yeah. So I think like, but you know what I mean. Like I wasn't like a main person in there, a main character. So I think that that helps. Another part is that you need to figure out like what's the fun part of editing for you. For
Yeah.
me, editing dialogue sucks. It's just it's so hard to like stay focused on that, and to like try to, because you have to listen to like depending on how deeply you go. I tend to go probably deeper than I need to, but again, just sort of like reaching for that audio drama sound. I'm looking for like little sounds that people are making. I'm looking for things going off in the background. I'm trying to decide if that is diegetic or not, and do I need to take
Right.
it out, or you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so figuring out like that, and so like that takes a long time. It feels dreadful. So what I ended up doing is I edited all of that first. When I did Ties That Bind, I edited our dialogue, and then I did the music, the room tone, and the sound
Yep.
effects. And I just do that for each episode. Boom, 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 boom. So I'd have to start over the dreadful part every episode. And so when I went to Ghost Underground, I was like, I cannot do this again because I don't want to finish. So I just did all of the dialogue. Now, that took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of me going, you don't get to play this new video game that came out, because if you do, you will be playing it for a month and you will not edit a single thing. But but or yeah, it that was like the biggest. I think the biggest sacrifice I made was I still haven't played like the new Dragon Age game, which is
Oh
that
my
bad or good?
God.
I don't know, but I would have played it immediately, but I had stuff to do. So I think like the thinking about that, like figuring out what is going to be the thing that's going to keep you from editing, just do that first if you can. Like if you can force yourself to get through that, and then be like, now I get the fun shit. Now I get to go listen and like find music and figure out how to make this new sound, and you know figure out like how to like create a tone for this moment, right? Like to me, that's the fun part. That's the part that makes me want to sit down at my computer and edit. And so working through that difficult stuff was like, okay, now I can go back to this, and now I want to sit down and do this, because also this is fun to do, and then when I'm done, that episode's done. I don't have
Yeah.
anything else to worry about now. It's just it's figured out. So
The real question is either which video games have you procrastinated on editing for, and the ones that you are
mm,
still waiting to play. So Veilguard is up there, I guess.
yeah, I haven't played that one. I still haven't played Helldivers. That was one that I wanted
Wow.
to try out. What else? But then, like, my problem is that I'll convince myself, like, oh, well, it's a game I played before, so I can do it. So, like, now I've been like
Yeah.
balls deep in fucking playing No Man's Sky, because they just
Right.
did a new update and I can build custom ships. Or I got on like a Age of Empires 2 kick for like 2 weeks. Or The Sims for like 2 weeks. So like it truly things that like if you're like me, you'll find a reason to procrastinate. But I think again, it just kind of goes back to like what's the goal for this project, right? Like if I'm a kind of person that I need to give myself timeline deadlines. Like I have to let myself know like we need to get this out at X point, because I want to hear it. The people who are in the show want to hear it. I think the audience is going to love it. Like it's important to get this out. And I mean, to that point, as the editor and the producer, I'm beholden to the other people in the show, right? Like
Absolutely, yeah.
there is a reality of, if you've asked your friends to be a part of something, and then they don't get to hear any of it, and you get to listen to it for 400 hours, but they haven't heard a single thing,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
for a year or whatever. Like that kind of sucks. So, I guess give yourself some peer pressure, some social
Yeah.
responsibility when it comes to that. That might help.
Absolutely. I really found that I had to 'cause having ADHD and like a bunch of things that like uh I think discouraged me from just like
Mm,
long hours of sitting and just only listening and like
yeah,
I hope to God I take notes along the process is all is that like I had to develop almost like this like zealous like meditation within myself where I'm just like I will religiously self-flagellate myself if I do not get through this. So maybe you don't need to be that intense about the process,
yeah.
but
Word,
like
word, word.
it's very much just like you know, I think dissecting why it feels what some parts feel like homework or not, and like
Mm,
very much realizing that you don't have to like just do it like start to finish. Like this is what
yeah,
this music is going to be right here. So at the same time as the music, I'm also worrying about like what exactly people are saying because then you're not like you have to do it in steps because that only just makes sense. You're not a
yeah,
team. You're one guy doing one thing at a time, and then this way you can also make sure that the music whatever dialogue you're editing is gonna even fit in with the music that you're like
right.
intending for right at the very beginning. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that was another thing in when we did Ghost Underground, I would take notes about like specific moments in the show and what that tone might be. Or I would be listening to, I use Artlist, and I would be listening to like songs on Artlist and be like, oh, like this accidentally sounded really good in this moment. Like, let me write this down of like when this happened. And then I think another thing that I do when I just like to help me actually editing, especially dialogue, is that I will listen to music, but I will watch like live performance music
Mm,
on YouTube, because then it gives me something for my eyes to do to like watch something, and I'm listening to the music and I'm still listening to the the dialogue, because I don't like it in reality. And I mean, this could also just because I have autism and my pattern recognition is one of my one of my skills. But I like, for me, I can pick up quickly like a clicking sound, or
mm-hmm.
a nasty little mouth noise, or an excessive or whatever, right? So I'm listening for that like sort of conversational cadence to break its pattern while I'm, listening to a song. And then I'm kind of being able to like focus on both things a little bit, helps me at least stay doing the work. Because I know like if I start doing audio editing and I'm not watching anything, I'll be like, well, what's going on Discord or my phone?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. And that's the easiest way. I mean, I say easy. It's hard. The truth is, it's hard to be disciplined. So, I think finding whatever works for you, and just going with it. Body doubling, if you do like quiet body doubling, like sometimes having just a person there that is maybe also working on audio editing, or just working, cameras on if you feel comfortable with that. Like for me, like it's a great accountability thing to be like,
Absolutely. I
this
was just gonna
person can
say.
see me like leaning back in my chair on my phone. I have to work. I have to at least like pretend to work. So I might as well just be working. I think is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about just like talking about like patterns, let's just talking about like structure.
Mm.
So hey Navar, how do you feel about long expository character introductions in
I
anything?
fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. I really personally don't like it. I I won't watch a stream anymore, especially an actual play stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in large part that is because you've given me a set time that you're going to start, and 20 minutes later is when that actually starts. And that
Right.
drives me crazy because it's like I have to watch this like starting soon screen for however long, and then you're going to come on, and then you're going to talk about like who's who and your sponsors and all this stuff. Now, this is just a me thing. People continue to do whatever you want to do. I don't like it. I understand it. I know why we have to do it. I don't like it. I think so. As a person who just primarily focuses on audio only podcasting, actual plays, I think that we can solve a lot of this problem by just putting the information where it's easy to see. Because I can tell you right now, I have never listened to somebody be like, go find me on Blue Sky at whatever, and then been like, yeah, I heard that. I'm going to go find you on Blue Sky. If I want to know who you
Right.
are, I'm going to look in the info, in the podcast information, the show information, and then I'm going to go to those show notes and click on the link to your thing. Or, you know what I mean? Like, so it just, I just feel like it might be unnecessary at this point. And like I get a lot of my inspiration for post production and sound design from watching TV. And like I've never watched an episode of The Walking Dead where Andrew Lincoln's like, "Hi, I'm Andrew
Oh my
Lincoln. I play
God.
Rick Grimes." You know what I mean? Can you imagine? So like I think like it just happens, right? It happens, and they're using the cast credit information as it like flashes on the screen. We don't have that in podcasting, but we have show notes, and that's our alternative. I think I understand a lot of the reasons why it goes into it. I think like, and I'm less inclined to be a hater about it if it's the outro. If at the end you're like,
Mm-hmm.
here's who we are, here's what we're working on right now, whatever. But again, for like, doing actual play podcasting, like it takes such a long time for me to get these shows out in post production. Like you could be like, oh yeah, I'm doing a thing right now in this promo, and then 6 months, a year later, like that
Oh my
that
God.
show happened 9 months ago. You know what I mean?
Very
So
real.
it's like,
Yeah.
what are we accomplishing? So I think like moments like that for us, for what we do, are great in a talkback episode where we're recording it in the present as the show's coming out, and we can like, if there's something we want to promote, then we have that time to like be able to do that. We usually don't anyway, but it is something that would be possible and would make sense there. But yeah, I think it's just like, if I'm coming in as a listener, I want to listen. I want to know what the story is. I want to like get to what is going to like make me stick around to listen to the show through the entire thing. And so, and maybe this is like a sign of the times, right? And we talk about like people's distractibility and low attention spans. But I do think like, you know, you have to capture somebody. If if you only have 30 minutes to
Mm-hmm.
get somebody's attention in a show, and you spend the first 20 minutes vamping or, introducing stuff, and then they're like, I'm only going to listen to the first 30 minutes of this. And then you have 10 minutes of like, cool, the story starts. You meet in a tavern, and it's like, fuck this show.
And
I'm
I
off.
know
And I'm being
specifically,
harsh, but yeah.
you there's something about the I think just like the storytelling structure you don't like, also about like the character introduction of like what they look like, that kind of thing. It feels like
Yeah.
you, I from what I remember, you almost appreciate it more like just when it comes up, or like if they're, obviously if streams have character art, that's like already just like a
Right.
nice thing, that's like an added thing. But like kind of, how like more when you're like reading a book and like certain details just come
Yeah.
up as they come up, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's books where, you don't get a single part of the character description until somebody encounters them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Encounters that
yeah.
character, and then the author's describing like aspect of what they look like. And I think that it can be done right. I think the problem is that it usually just goes on longer than it might need to. Now, I know that people are very precious about their OCs, and that
Yes,
everybody
there's
wants to like get
the
into, like, you know what I mean, like
yeah
I get
the
it.
the
Again, I have a particular opinion.
yeah
that has framed all of the work I do.
It's so interesting just because I think with the podcast pre-recorded format, there's just a bit more of imagination that you're just dealing with inherently.
Yeah.
Um, and not unfortunately whatsoever, if your show has uh like character art or like
Mm.
has had enough of a budget to get artwork commissioned, that sort of thing. But like it is really truly interesting when like a show can just be just as effective if like you're just kind of figuring things out as it goes, as if you're like already, if you're like imagining a thought of like what the characters look like there's just so many it's interesting how many ways that you really embrace other mediums as well when it
Mm.
comes to your thoughts and opinions about APs and the way they run. Extremely funny because obviously Bad House RPG has is we do like live streams as well where like we just
Mm.
I feel like the intentionality or the show format calls for this like this is who this person is, this is who this person is, here's Bad House RPGs and like our long list of
Yeah.
like our laundry list of
Mhm.
like things. But hopefully at the end of the day, if you want Navaar to watch your AP stream, um the starting screen is maybe 2 to 5 minutes, and then you get right into the story,
Or
or
just
whatever.
have your VODs on YouTube where I can like skip it
Yeah,
easily.
absolutely. When
I
I could just
think
fucking skip it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think like as a person who doesn't do Twitch or YouTube content, I think everybody who doesn't actually play should have VODs on YouTube because Twitch
Yeah.
is a miserable experience to watch a VOD on. It is awful. I mean, it's cool you can make clips, but I don't ever want to have to go on there to like look up an old video, and you can't anymore. They don't keep them. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I think like having a VOD, I think is huge because then I don't have to worry about it. If I can just skip and be like, okay, my 30 minutes of like checking your show out starts here at 15 whatever, right? Then I think that's fine. Now, is there something to be said about putting that in the description of like when the show starts? Maybe that's huge. Do we still do these things because that's the way it's been done?
Yeah, of course.
You know
Like,
what I mean? Like I think that there's probably a part of that I think like by no fault of anybody's just doesn't get challenged because it's like, well, all the other 30 shows that I'm affiliated with or like have ever like I
yeah,
have
right.
friends with, like we all do it this way. So like why change it? And yeah, I mean I think it's, live streaming is such a different experience. But I think like even in a podcast, they're really people still do it there too. I think just because, so many people got into it from watching Twitch APs. And I think like it's just something to consider. I just want people to be intentional when they make an actual play
Yeah.
and really think about like the listener's experience from beginning to end, which I think like, talking about character descriptions, right? If, if we as performers were better about including our character's body and clothing and hair in when we're describing the things that they're doing, that honestly might help rather than you being like, all right, and your character walks in the room and then you go, hell yeah, it's my time to shine. Here's 12 minutes of what my character looks like. Like that's cool. I personally zoned out and I don't remember. I even as a player, I'm like, character descriptions are the worst thing. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you said this character's hot. And I don't remember how, but I'm just gonna roll with it. It's fine. I think like that's a big part of it for me. So like, but I I I think like the two things that I try to do when I'm performing is think about like what my character's body language is doing and think about what they're feeling on the inside. And I'm not saying that that my way is the right way, but I do think that we could, as performers, generally speaking, consider that more. Like if you want us to know like your character has a cool jacket, like talk about the jacket sometimes,
Yeah.
not
Just bring
at
it
the
up.
beginning and then never bring it up again. you
Just
know?
bring it up. And that's okay. Lots of different styles are are clearly present, like the live stream format as well as the pre-recorded podcast format. Um, Going back to the cold open structure itself, Fabian actually has a question for you as well,
Yeah.
Navaar. So, what are the factors that go into deciding the presentation of the cold open? We talked a little bit about how that there's like a dramaturgy to the audio editing as
Mm.
well. How do you keep it? How do you keep it organized and not confusing? And then a couple other questions, but we'll start with those kind of base ones.
Yeah, I think I've done a lot of it like based on feel, but I think when I'm feeling that out, if I had to like apply it a science to it at all or an art to it at all, I would say that it has to be a complete scene. Even if it continues after that, I think that there has to be sort of this tone setting scene that ends and that people can come away with that and go like, holy shit, like I want to know what's going on here, right? It doesn't have to be directly connected to the next thing that people listen to. It doesn't have to. I mean, it still has to be tied to the story, I think, but it doesn't have to be, so specifically designed in a way that like everything is moving forward. A cold open that we did, you had us like we play these NPCs where we're having this conversation, and that conversation is happening outside of a room where the one of the characters is in, and so we got to have that conversation and then transition to like a little bit earlier in time as that character is waking up inside the room and the conversation is going on outside. So I think you want to like if you're doing the sound design, you want to think about like what is the tone I want to give the audience here. If I'm picking out a piece that wasn't initially recorded as a cold open, but I think it would
Mm-hmm.
work as one, like, do I have enough of this here to make something that's intriguing and complete? And then put it in there. And if it's separate from the rest of it, like, that's great if the cold open works. Does the rest of the story still work? And once I take
Mm-hmm.
this out, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I think like visual media show like TV shows, they benefit from the fact that they can put words on a screen that don't have to
Yeah.
be said. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
That aren't interrupting the like the sonic experience, but you still know. So it's like I can put something on the screen that's like The Walking Dead does this great. So it could be like the present, or it'll say like then and now, or it'll be like this is in black and white because it's in the past, and this is in color, right? In audio, somebody has to narrate that, and I haven't thought of a way personally that feels good in actual play to do it. Now, some audio dramas do have a narrator, and I think it either works or it doesn't work. But it is, I mean, again, going back to the intention, like that's a decision somebody has to make. Like if you're going to be like, okay, or can you frame? Is this piece of scene? Is this scene framed in a way that the audience should understand this happened at a different time,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I think the last cold open we did started with you. I let you as the GM kind of go through the process of, or I should say, I kept in the part where you as a GM are saying like, let's go back in time a little bit to this moment,
Mm,
and
yeah.
then it kind of starts there. You know what I mean? Or it might have been that, or the scene happens, and then we do the title, and then it comes back to you. Now let's go back to X, Y, and Z. As long as there's some kind of framing there, I think from the GM, I think that
Yeah, the
helps.
framing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like with the cold open, it is a I guess there are lots of different styles of it as well. It's almost as a of a withholding enough of a context to then strategically and dynamically provide the context through the
Mm,
framing of certain tools such as soundscaping,
yeah.
specific storytelling beats and framing,
Mm,
and then et cetera, et cetera. Making it like hit like
yeah.
when exactly the points begin to puzzle piece together or like when that like seatbelt clicks kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like there's things that you can do. You can do a cold open that's a repeated scene of that final scene of a show
Mm-hmm.
or of an episode rather. Um, to which I think is great to like bring people back into that frame of mind of like what happened in the last one. Whether you're doing weekly drops, bi-weekly, or whatever time you get the episode out, I think if you want the audience to sort of be immersed in that stuff, like that's a great way to do that using a like a even a cleaned up scene like we did this in Ties of Mine. I think going from 3 to 4, the beginning of 4 is a cleaned up and longer version of the ending of 3, um, so that the pacing is faster.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
it's was already intense, and now it's like, oh shit, we're back in this. Like, oh yeah, like because I mean, I don't think I think it's a great way of like helping the audience get back into it. Well, I don't think like it's treating your audience as if they are not smart enough to remember, but I do think like we're creating an audio experience. You don't know what people are going to be doing when they listen to this. They may be in their car, they may be in bed, they may be gardening, whatever. So like how do you bring them back in? And finding those moments, those like sound cues, those musical cues, those you know, highlighting certain things and creating that tone like we talked about, especially if maybe they're anticipating hearing your intro music and they hear that instead. Like that's stuff that snaps people out of like whatever they're
Yeah.
doing and brings
Mm-hmm.
you in, and it can be really effective if you do it right. So
A very general question because
mhm.
you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Do cold opens always work?
I mean, probably not. I would say no. I think that there are some shows that almost every episode is a cold open. And I
Mm-hmm.
think overuse is when they become less effective. If I don't expect to hear or to see like the title or whatever, like then I'm not going to worry about it. Like to me, I'm just like, oh well, the show's going to start and the show's going to start, and that's fine, which is fine. But I think when you, I mean, to go back, I'm currently rewatching The Walking Dead for like the sixth time. Um, their episode 3 or season 3, excuse me, episode 1, and actually episode 1 of the entire series are both cold opens that are just like, holy shit. They're just like, the tone setting is so good. And then it goes into the really creepy intro music. Like it's just perfect. Season 3 starts with like, there's no talking. They're like surviving and they look
Wow.
rough and they're like, just trying to find stuff and scavenge, and it's like everybody's like being quiet, and you get this like real sense of like danger and like need and desperation, and it's rough. And then it goes to the title, and then like it comes back and there's like background foley, and like people are like sort of talking, and it's not like cheery, but it's like, okay, like we're out of this sort of like tense moment, but things aren't great. I think that is huge. But yeah, I think you can overuse it. You can, if you did a cold open all the time and none of them mean anything, then you're gonna lose something there. I think it's just a tool to be used in moderation, personally. So
There's something I'm realizing in this conversation about just how like important to relationship building to the audience that creating the
yeah.
opening really is. Like exactly what you're saying about like what is the thing that's grabbing me that isn't just like who these people are. Like for me
Mhm.
when I watch APs and teach RPGs and stuff like that, I am unfortunately a very parasocial watcher. I'm like that's my friend or like that person raised me, like whatever.
Yeah.
And I can stick around for all sorts of kind of like vamping or whatever.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking about the hilarity right now of like Breaking Bad. If you've watched Breaking Bad,
Yeah. Yeah.
it does feel like almost maybe every episode is a cold open. That's an exaggeration, but like there are instances where like that weird like oriental twangy like intro song that comes up
Yeah.
with like all of the like elements coming out to
Hmm.
like spell out Breaking Bad. It is the hilarity sometimes when you realize you're like maybe 30 minutes into like the opening scene and then it's like that weird
Yeah.
song
Yeah.
coming on, that you can build such hilarity with a sense of an opening. You can build that's like where you're starting to like build security as well. Like it's when
Mm.
you include the intro song, you don't include it. I'm watching a Banshee also right now,
Yeah.
which has, I think, maybe if not as many cold opens, every beginning of the episode just feels like a punch to the face with like
Mhm.
someone getting killed or some teenager child doing drugs or something. An Amish person gets punched in the face. Who knows? It's yeah. Your openings are you building a relationship foundation and security with your audience.
Yeah.
So I will be care. I'll tattoo that on my chest so that I remember every time. Um, Did you did you have a thing that you were saying?
No, I mean, yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think,
Got it.
like the Breaking Bad opening that I remember is like you see him like run out of a trailer in his underwear in the
Yeah. Oh
middle of
my
the
god.
desert, and you're like,
Yeah.
what is like that is such a great like, what the fuck is happening, right? And then you don't get the
Just
answer for a
we
while.
just have to be crazier. I think like
Yeah, yeah, but you know what I mean. But I think it's something like to translate that to actual play. If you have a moment in your actual play that you could drop in without context, that would create a full scene, that would leave more questions than answers, and then not answer that question for 1 to 2 episodes, or like the end of your episode, whatever. Like that, that's a great cold open right there. You know, in my opinion, like that's a great way to bring the audience in and be like, that's fucked up. I need to know why that. I don't know what this character looks like yet. I don't know what their pronouns are. I don't know.
the
You know what I mean?
withholding
Like,
context
yes.
until the framing provides the
Yeah. Yeah.
context.
And then you
Got
can
it.
go in and then, I mean, and that, I think, not thinking of Breaking Bad at the time, but when making Ties That Bind, that was my goal, was to
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about like, how do we, not only with the cold open, but with the way the story is structured, I want to give you pieces of what these characters are like in the
Yeah.
heat of the moment, and then let you hear them talk about themselves and each other. And then, so it's like you're, as a listener, hopefully, I guess the goal is that you're listening to this and you're going, damn, like that's an interesting aspect of this character. Like, oh, this person seems like a little bit of a coward. This person seems like a protector. Like things aren't going well, X, Y, and Z. And then it's like, okay, now I'm learning more, and now I'm getting to like be introduced to somebody, and have this fuller picture, rather than like, just you telling me their name and what they look like, and then I'm supposed to just be like into it, I
I remember
guess.
that, and I've
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
in my soul now. Got it. Yeah.
yeah.
Fabian has another question. Is the sheer amount of foley and soundscaping around the zombie apocalypse the reason that you like zombie stories, or just like it's something that you're gravitating towards?
No, no, I don't think so. I think it's just that I am deeply obsessed with zombie apocalypse stuff, and that I made a game where I got to do that, and then I decided to be a sound designer. I think is like the order of operations there. Now it is fun to do, for sure. And but like, Sooth Wardens is a fantasy game, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to like soundscape that at some point. So, but yeah, I think it's just like there's some opportunities there to make some really fun stuff. I think just horror more specifically, like building tone and in a horror story as a sound designer is a lot of fun. Like finding the right kind of music, the finding things that like are like discordant to what is happening. When you, it's just like, why is this music bad? Why is this music telling me something's wrong, right? Or why is this music telling me something's good and bad things are clearly happening? If you're intentional with your choices, I think that's a lot of fun. But no, the reason I love the zombie apocalypse. I think there's a I just really enjoy like what it does to sort of character psychology, to
Yeah,
this idea of
definitely.
like this forcing survival to the front of your priority list, and then realizing like that can't just be it, and how do I reconcile the other priorities that I want to have in my life, like how do I reconcile my relationships, my friendships, my my desire to like play music or whatever. I think that is what really interests me a lot about zombie apocalypse stuff. And I think like in a way that I really can't explain, there's something about the like really just grungy aesthetic
Yeah.
of like I just there's an episode of The Walking Dead in season 5 where they're just like all walking. They just look beat up and they haven't eaten, and it's like real hazy and everybody's dirty, and I'm just like something about that scene is just so good to me, and I can never like truly explain it with words, but I'm like it just feels aesthetic. So I don't know, whatever that says about me, I'll just accept it. But I think like there is it's just
Zombies are
to me,
gender.
it's a really yeah. Uh, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I think like there is something about just that type of story, that type
Yeah.
of relationship story, because I think it's different than being fantasy superheroes. I think it's different than you know what's another what other games do people make? I think it's even different than like Delta Green or Call of
Hmm.
Cthulhu. Like, those have danger, but in the background, like everybody's lives are still the same.
Yeah.
Like you're dealing with this because you got picked up or you decided to do it, and made a bad decision. But like everything else is still the same. Whereas in like a zombie apocalypse, like the whole world changed. The whole world changed, and now you have to decide, what is my character gonna do? How
Yeah.
far is my character gonna go? And that's huge. So that's why.
I have two, three last questions for you, Navar. It
Yeah.
looks like so one of them says that you wanted to potentially have asked this episode, what happened to the audio in season 9, episode 2 of The Walking Dead? I'm gonna give you maybe 5 minutes for this one.
This was mostly a joke, but there is a problem with season 9, episode 2 of The Walking Dead, and I think I didn't notice it the first couple times that I watched it, but then when I started doing sound stuff, I was like, "That's something's wrong here." And my guess, because there's no real information online, my guess is that there was something wrong with the equipment when it was being recorded, or more likely, probably whoever mixed it did a bad job and probably doesn't have that job anymore. But it's like it's very tinny, and it sounds like they might have like compressed it too much, or they tried to take like a background noise out. Like sometimes if you take too much background noise out, if you increase the level of what you're doing there, it'll start to like degrade somebody's vocal quality. And I feel like they might have like put a preset on there they weren't supposed to. And then I don't know how it got as far as it did, to where like even now watching it on streaming services, like it's still fucked up. It's probably fucked up on the DVD too. Like I don't know. Somebody made a big mistake, and I just feel bad for them. But it really threw me off when I listened to it recently. I'm on season 6 right now, so I'll tell you again in 2 weeks.
In yeah, one in 3 seasons.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah,
you're just gonna skip over the other question.
the other question is, why do I, Navar, love you so much? I would, yeah, we have
It's
3 more minutes.
because yeah, I still have time for my Walking Dead question. I love you so much because you're just awesome. No, I mean, I think like you see me in a way that makes me feel really appreciated, and I feel like I see you in a way that is really awesome, and so we just have we connected really well early on.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. You interviewed me for a Secret Nerd podcast like 2 years, 2, 3 years ago or something.
Yeah,
And
it's been
it's been ever since, yeah.
yeah. So, and it was like, and that happened because you were just like, Navarre, why haven't you become my friend yet so we could talk on Secret Our Podcast?
That
And
is very much my track record of
yeah,
like, why aren't we friends yet?
yeah. And I love it because now look at us. So yeah, no, I think you're just great, and I think that we have a lot in common. And I love you as an artist and as a performer, and yeah, you're just great.
And I love you because you are bald.
Thank you.
Next question.
Thanks. Classic Joe.
Classic. To round us out, let's talk about your inspirations for sound, even outside of AP. Like, are there audio
Yeah.
dramas that you're specifically listening to gain more inspo? Um, what are the TV shows that get you constantly inspired? Music, even. Like, let's talk
Yeah.
about, yeah.
Um, yeah. So there are some great audio dramas. The first audio drama I ever listened to, actually, I have two friends that were in it, and that just sort of happened. It's called Earth Eclipsed. It's a sci-fi show. My friend Lev is in it, and my friend Reggie is in it. They play the two main characters, and it's really, really fucking good. It was the first time like that from an audio drama point of view. It was the first time that I was really just blown away by like the performances and the story and like just how immersed the sound was. I think audio drama is really great because you get so much in a short amount of time, and I'm sure the sound designers they're doing a lot of work. Like I think that's another like to do like a 10-minute clip in an actual play that is like heavily sound designed takes hours. It's so much work because it's not just like figuring out the right sound, which does take a long time. You also have to put it in the right spot and make sure it all sounds good. So yeah, so Earth Eclipse is really, really great. There's another. I'll have to come back to the audio dramas, but I mean, TV shows is huge for me. Not only as a sound designer, but also as an actual play producer. I think like the way that, like, especially like quote unquote prestige television is like set up is just really good in terms of how they like create scenes. Which, if you're the editor, thinking about like when we're doing cuts and what things stay in, like they do a great job of like setting tone, having the music in the background. Watching All of Us Are Dead. I'm going to talk about zombie stuff a lot. I love zombies, as we've figured out. All of Us Are Dead is really great. They do a lot of interesting things with music where they there are these moments where like these kids are getting attacked by zombies, and the music isn't like intense, like heavy. It's like sad. It or it's like really calm. Like they play a lot with sort of like the musical expectation versus what you're seeing. So I think that's a really, really good one. Godzilla has incredible sound design. Like if you're making monster sounds and you can figure out like great ways to do it, yeah, that's a huge one. The Walking Dead, of course. The Last of Us season one did a really, really good sound and music. I think like for me, I listen to a lot of like composers, either on like streaming service or if I'm just like in Artlist, sometimes I'll just go in there when I'm not working on anything and just listen to like songs that they think that I like, because it's a great way to like sort of hear how composers are setting scenes, and what that might apply to. There's a great show called a great movie called Next Gen on Netflix, and it's about this little girl who meets a robot. And I can't say too much about it because it'll spoil it, but you should definitely watch it. But there's a fight scene between these two robots, and it's like they turn down all the sound of the sound effects, and it's just music playing over. There's really dramatic music. And like if I could figure out how to achieve that specific thing in actual play, I will have one sound design. Whether or not I get an award for it or not, I will have one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think like God, there's so many shows. Like there's so many just good ways. If you really like The Expanse is great. Like watching shows, True Detective, watching prestige television shows that like are they spent a lot of money to make sure this production came out really fucking well. The scripts are good. The casting is great, and finding that stuff, I think, really will help to sort of study the craft of like scene setting. Like I think I watch a lot of like script writing videos,
Mm.
and obviously we're doing non-scripted things, but I think like there is a translation, in my opinion, to like a heavily produced actual play, and a television show, and I think part of that comes in the scripting because of it's about setting scenes, it's about capturing words and making sure like that relationship to the audience is being held. So yeah, just find
And
find like a show like that you know again the words prestige television, I think it just feels like it's comes with some baggage, and I think like it gets overused as well. But I think like if you kind of look into that genre, if you will, of television, and watch some of those shows, even just a few episodes of each, just to like kind of get an idea of how they're doing it. To me, that changed how I thought about actual play and really informed what we made with Ties That Bind. And so, yeah.
yeah, and ties that bind as well. Like it's just a constant reminder in AP. Like everyone in the room is a writer.
Mhm.
It's simply because like if not like we're all character writers for our own specific
Yeah.
like character. Like
Yeah.
uh being able to map out what you specifically want is like it is obviously great at all times for you as a performer. Again,
Mhm.
thinking about show intentionality and like format intentionality, like what do you as a character, the person playing that character, want to do? Please have goals. Please have like
Yeah.
wishes and things that you want to accomplish. Like, what are the things that you can do on your character sheet that you want to just show off as much as you can for whatever reason?
Yeah.
Um,
I think too, like piggybacking off of that, Ties That Bind and Ghost Underground are both 10-episode shows with intention. We set a limit and we said we're going to do it in this time. And I think, like, again, kind of going back to that idea, if you have to fit this story into this amount of time, your character work and improvisation in those moments are going to be huge into what makes that, but also the edit, right? Those two things have to sort of work together to make something that fits and that feels like I just listened to 10 episodes of this incredible show and I feel good. I want more of it, but it's a complete story. I don't feel like I've missed out on something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I want more because it was so good. I want to listen to that again. So, yeah. I will say, too, the first actual play that made me think, damn, this could be better than just a straight up, from your desk to my ears, is Mayday Roleplay.
mm,
And our friend Eli, who GMs for an upcoming series that you and I are in, is the audio producer there. Eli is incredible, incredibly talented, and they did all of the sound design for that. And I listened to that when I first got into TTRPG, like quote unquote industry scene. I listened to Mayday Roleplay, and I mean, blown away. Like I didn't. It was so good. I didn't even realize it was happening until there was like an episode when it was like the characters got out of the car, and you hear like the car turn off, the door opens, they step out, they're walking on gravel, and I was like, hang on, what am I listening to? This is fucking wild.
This is an
Yeah, so
AP.
check it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So specifically, their Doomed to Repeat show, Mayday Roleplay has a cast of wonderful people. They're all great. I love them. Shout out to Lev, Zach, and Eli, but specifically and Sergio. But I think like they Doomed to Repeat to me is my favorite because that's what Eli has worked on so much, and that really I think opened the door for me before I was even ready to even consider it to the fact that it could be done. That sound design could be such a big part of it.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, in current rotation as well. The Heart is a Dungeon. Rara had beat me for sound design award in last year's New Jersey Web Fest, and deserves it. The Heart is a Dungeon is really fucking well produced, and just does some really cool stuff that I think thematically just is so different than a lot of actual plays right now. And then our friend over at Tales Yet Told, I
Let's
love all of
go.
it, but Voices in the Wood is just like, just really fucked me up. It's just in the best way possible. Because it just sounds like radio. It just sounds like you're listening to
Doesn't it?
radio.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
it's just perfect. So yeah. And then to the first, Our Lives in the Woods with Kendo and Amihan.
Fantastic.
It's so
Fantastic.
good. That was another one that was like, oh yeah, I can put music in here that has lyrics. Like it's fine. And like Kendo at the end of the episode, I think there's a whole like the whole song plays, and it doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like it's just like vamping. It doesn't feel like it. It just feels perfect. Like it feels like the tone was set, things happened, and then now you're just in this moment listening to this song and sort of like digesting everything that just went on. It's so good. Can't talk about it enough. Yeah, tells it told. Check it out.
Check it out. Yeah. Um, the only audio drama that I can think of that was very particularly inspiring for me and just the ways that like you can convey sound not even just in terms of like skill or whatever, just like the sheer amount of like bouncing back and forth between timelines
Mhm.
chronologically in storyboarding a podcast is the left right game, which was produced by Tessa Thompson. I don't know if you know anything about that, but
I don't know.
it is a story that started as a creepypasta, basically like a kind of like
Mm.
Reddit no sleep kind of concept, um, where there is this supernatural game with which people uh go into like a grid like city where they can drive and take the first left, the first right, the next left, the next right, and then it basically just transports them into like an entire different world
Oh wow.
in the entire process. And if you break the cycle, then it's just all you're no longer in the world, you're no longer a part of the game. And the like sheer amount of like car accidents that happen. Don't listen to the left right game in your car. That's not a
Yeah,
probably not
that'll fuck you
car
up.
listening. Um, but also just like the psychological and like dramatic turmoil, the dialogue. I really heavily recommend that listen. There's some really fantastic actors on that that you might very well know. Um, yeah, Navar. I don't know if you had any last thoughts to impart with our audience before we wrap up today.
um, yeah, there's two. I thought of the two other ones. So there's a show called Liars and Leeches, which was made by Marissa Ewing, who is the editor for
Marissa,
Transplaner.
legend.
Yeah. It's so good. Liars and Leeches is really good. And then another one who's also TTRPG person involved is Camlin, which is it's like a modern like Welsh Arthurian story. It's really fucking intense and scary. And that's made by Ella Watts. Ella, I think, is the first person to ever put me in an actual play. back
Wow.
in 2021. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, it's really, really good. Check those out. Like, I think those are shows that are made by people who really care about audio drama. Oh, another show I will mention. This is actual play. Actual play that is so audio drama they won't let them put it into actual play stuff in WebFest is Soul Operator with Tatiana Gefter and Jay from Planet Arcana edits and sound designs that show. It is really good. Ta is awesome, incredible performer. Jay is an incredible sound designer, editor. So yeah, I mean, there are people out there in TTRPGs who are doing it, and I think like just finding that group of people, listening to them. I think most of us are pretty open to like helping people in conversations. I can't vouch for everybody, but there's a lot of them I think are pretty good about just, if you need help and you have questions, like reach out. Because it's a pretty lonely thing, and you will find that like doing, I guess like my closing thing would be like, there's not a lot of information or any information outside of episodes like this, or I have one in a similar vein with Eli and Marissa on Secret Nerd podcast of like conversations about doing actual play. But there's not a lot of tips, so like you really have to figure out like, I want to learn audio editing, and I'm just going to have to learn it on YouTube, and not about doing it for actual play. And so what does that mean? That means that you have to take the things that you learn from audio drama, the things that you learn from TV, and
Mm-hmm.
your own creative ideas about what you want to be in your show, and you have to make those decisions and just do it with intentionality and plan for it in the beginning. Think about how long it's going to take. Remember, a 10 episode series with 1 to 1.5 hour episodes took me 300 hours to edit. So, like, if you want to do that, that is awesome. I can't wait to hear it. Please take care of yourself. Make sure you give yourself the time. Do not put so much pressure on yourself to get out episodes every week, because I promise you, you'll be burnt out by the end of it. If you try to do it all a week, you can't cram whatever that is, 30 hours or whatever of editing into 1 week and not get paid for it. And that's like your side thing that you're just doing for fun. Like, just please don't do that to yourself. Take your time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're going to learn stuff along the way. So I think it's just best. And I guess my other last little thing, if you decide you want to do it, it is more important for you, in my opinion, to get really good at mastering dialogue mixing than it is for you to find cool sounds and plop them into your thing. I would rather you take the time to make the vocals sound good, so that people like me who can't listen to certain things because of the way it's edited or the sibilants, which is like the S sounds. I
Mm-hmm.
can hear them when I talk right now, and it drives me crazy. But like, if you don't take the time to learn how to edit that stuff out, or make it smoother, or make it a more enjoyable experience, you're going to miss out on listeners. Not all of them. Some people will still listen no matter what. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that there are certain subset of people who just politely never listen to your show, and not because we hate
Podcasting,
it.
it's an
Yeah,
audio format.
yeah.
Absolutely. You just got to know.
So please consider that. Please just spend the time to do the thing that sucks, and that's dialogue editing.
Okay.
And that's it. That's it. I think
Navaar,
that's it.
where can people find you?
On Blue Sky. See how we did this at the end, y'all? This is the best. No, you can find me at navarsnp.bsky.social. That's the only social media I use. People keep finding me on Instagram, and I don't know why. Just stop doing it. I'm not going to use it, guys. You'll never see me post anything there. Just stop. Yeah, so Blue Sky is the best place. That's where I post things about what I'm doing with actual play, what I'm doing with my games. Follow me on itch, navarsnp.itch.io. Pick up the games, rate them. It helps a ton. Play them. That helps even more. If you never rate my game, but you play it and you tell me about it, I'll still be sad you didn't rate it, but I will absolutely love the fact that you played the game. Please don't let it be a thing you put in your itch library and never touch. Games are meant to be played. Yeah, I think that's it. Itch, and then yeah, if you want to get physical copies of the Corrupted, again, +1 EXP is the place to get them. Soothe Wardens, which is the game that we talked about, but we didn't really get into, is another game about relationships, wearing a mask of combat and fantasy coolness. And that game is even more deeply tying your characters together than the Corrupted does. So yeah, so follow me for updates on that. That's also going to get published through +1 EXP. So got big things coming for that one. And I
Yeah.
think, oh, and Secret Nerd Podcast, of course,
Secret Nerd
Secret Nerd Podcast,
Podcast.
wherever you pod. It's
And
as easy as it sounds.
you are also one of the editors for Lori's House over at Tender Vicious
Yes,
Studios as
yes,
well.
thank you.
So
Yes, yeah, I am the
you were
editor.
the
Well, there was
editor.
another editor before, but yeah, but I'm the one that does it now. Yeah, please check it out. That show, talk about an experience of like, as the editor, listening to something and then being like, hang on, what did I just hear? We are in some episodes right now that some things happen and it is wild. So definitely check it out. It's a very interesting take on actual play, a very different style that I think is a lot of fun if you're a person who really enjoys, you know, the changes that have been happening, I think, with people who are really into the artistic side of actual play production. So
Okay.
I think that's everything now. If I forgot, just follow me on Blue Sky and then you'll see it when I post something.
Thank you so much, Bad House RPG audience and fans and listeners and all.
Yes,
Whether
yes,
you're
yes.
listening to this on YouTube or on Pod, we'll see you in another episode of Kids on the Stoop. Goodbye.
Bye.